In the context of EVs, the 2025 Kia EV3 could be one of the most important new models launched this year. Having already set the bar sky high with the EV6, EV9 and to a lesser extent the EV5, the new compact has some big shoes to fill. So with that in mind, let's take a first look on home soil of the new 2025 Kia EV3. This isn't actually our first time meeting the EV3. We spent some time with the small electric SUV in its native Korea last year, but that was before it was tuned for Aussie conditions. The first thing you need to know about the Australian lineup is the pricing. The base Air standard range starts from just under 48,000, while the flagship GT line long range starts from near enough 64. Nestled between those two are the $53,000 Air long range and the $59,000 Earth long range. Every EV3 is powered by a 150 kilowatt, 283 Newton meter electric motor that draws current from either a 58.3 or 81.4 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack. Realistically, you should be able to guess by the nameplate which variants have which pack. As for the range, Kia says the base model will cover up to 436 k's on a full charge, while the long range models vary between 563 and 604 kilometers. Under the skin, you'll find a 400-volt version of Kia's fantastic eGMP architecture, which makes the EV3 both easier and cheaper to produce than the EV6 and EV9, the flip side being it can't be charged quite as quickly. The maximum DC charging power, 128 kilowatts for the long-range versions and about 100 for the standard range, translating to a claimed 10 to 80% top-up in around half an hour, albeit with a couple of minutes variation between the two different batteries. Common to all EV3s is this huge panoramic display housing a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, a 5.3-inch climate control interface and a 12.3-inch infotainment system. Now, as we've come to expect from Kia, the two main displays work perfectly well. They're attractive, crisp and easy to use. But the same can't be said for the climate control panel, which for the driver at least is blocked by the steering wheel just about all of the time. Little bit of style over substance on that one. That said, you do get these handy physical controls and shortcuts on the dashboard, as well as a preview on the infotainment system, so it's not quite the end of the world if you can't see that panel behind the steering wheel. One thing I'm less keen on, however, is this little QR code in front of the passenger. Now, that takes you through to a landing page detailing the virtues of Kia's sustainable interiors, but it can't be removed. Am I the only one that thinks that's a bit try-hard? I mean, if you really want to know about that stuff, just read the brochure. But what about the EV3's SUV-ness? Well, there's a 460 litre boot, a 25 litre frunk that's really only good for storing the charging cables, seating for 5, though 5 adults could be a stretch, and 140 millimetres of ground clearance. Alrighty, our first taste of the new Kia EV3 on home soil. Now, just as a little reminder, this is only a first impressions video, so we'll be focusing on the core basics of how it goes, how it stops, its ride and handling, and how it travels. Things like the smaller details of the iPedal and the new generation highway driving assist and whatnot, we'll cover that in a future video. So in town, the EV3 is as polite and as friendly as its exterior would suggest so. Now, it's a Kia. These days, that means polished ride and handling, comfortable ergonomics, decent refinement, and that's exactly what we have here. It doesn't crash or thud its way over bumps and expansion joints and train tracks and whatnot, but nor does it kick you and nor does it wallow. It just gets on with the job of cruising along. The fact that you don't actually need to think about the suspension in town is testament to how good it actually is. And those same polished, refined, comfortable dynamics or characteristics, they transfer out to the open road as well. You can tell that this thing has been tuned for local conditions by people who understand the roads out here. There is perhaps an underlying firm edge to this top spec GT line, but that's only because we're sitting on 19-inch alloys and little skinny low profile tyres. The base model Air, for instance, is on 17s with a much taller profile, and that does a fantastic job of ironing out those sharper hits both in town and on the open road. Now, as for the handling around town, the EV3 is manoeuvrable, it's got minimal overhangs, so you know pretty much where the axles are, you're not going to scrape anything very easily. It's all very practical. On the open road, it's about as neutral and secure as you would expect. Kias traditionally have some of the better ride and handling characteristics of mainstream vehicles, and that all comes back to that local chassis and steering tune. You would never call it sporty, but thanks to the centre of gravity being so low with the battery shoved in between the axles, it really does conduct itself rather well on the twists and turns. Like I said, it's not sporty, but it is a hell of a lot more athletic than something like an internal combustion Hyundai Kona, or even a Seltos for that matter. As for the power delivery, well, I can't give you a demonstration at the moment since we're in town, but in sport mode, the 150 kilowatt motor, it does enough. It can get you out of trouble, there's enough grunt for a cheeky roll-on overtake, but don't expect to go hassling hot hatchbacks or chasing 86s through the twists and turns or up a hairpin road. Now on the flip side of that, the brakes. Every single EV3 variant in Australia comes with discs in all four corners, which, as we found out recently, even some premium EVs these days don't offer that. That is until you realise that the rear brakes are drums, which on an $80,000 premium vehicle is, well, crap. And we're delighted to say that the EV3 will, not literally, but it'll stand on its nose. It is genuinely impressive, to the point where even in these mixed conditions we've been driving on today, greasy roads and whatnot, the EV3 pulled up straight, true, no squirreling, and it just worked. Like, it literally stopped. To the point of, I've driven performance cars that probably don't quite pull up as well as this, which in a car that's, you know, you're going to be carrying families and shopping and dogs and everything else, that's what you want. You want to be able to stop in an emergency, and that is exactly what it does. Now realistically, some 90-95% of EV3s are going to spend their entire lives here in suburbia, pottering around, doing grocery runs and school runs, and probably spending time in traffic. So what's it like to spend time in stop-start? Well, the ergonomics are all pretty well sorted, to be honest. The driving position is decent. It's perhaps a little bit lacking for those with long legs. The pedals are a little bit close to the seat, but it's not the end of the world. There's plenty of adjustment to the seat. The seat itself is nice and comfortable, not the most supportive, but it doesn't need to be. All the controls feel relatively well and they fall to hand easily, and I'm delighted to say that the integrated buttons on the EV3 feel a damn sight better than the EV9s, which just feel rigid and disgusting and very cheap. These feel quality. Visibility, meanwhile, well, that's pretty good. It's safe for over the shoulders where you got that enormous C-pillar, but the back window is decent. The window line and the bonnet line are both quite low for this particular driving position. It really works well. You can see out in all key areas, and in this top spec GT line, of course, you've got the various other cameras and sensors to help you on your way. So there we have it, the 2025 Kia EV3, a handsome, polished new electric SUV that's sure to make waves against its rivals.